How you guys doing? My name's Jay and I'm actually starting a poker blog. This is going to be my very first episode. Pardon me if I'm a little bit sick, but I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself. I've actually been playing poker for about 20 years now. I actually worked a little bit for the last few years, took a break, but now I'm back and I'm excited to document my hopeful success here. Since I did quit my job about a month ago, I'm up about 45K. Mainly in private PLO home games, but last 2 weeks I'm actually down 10K, just losing pretty consistently, and it's pretty normal for a downswing, but I decided that, I wasn't really having fun and want to lower the variance, so I decided to play some Hold'em, and that's what I'm here to do today, is play some 5-10 no limit, about $1,000 today, and that's what I'll be documenting. So wish me luck, and hope you guys enjoy the vlog. Alright guys, so I put my name on the list for 5-5, 5-10 no limit, and one reason why I decided to start a blog is because I just love poker, and I think I'm pretty decent, I'm pretty good, so I feel like I give a lot of good value out there compared to a lot of other vloggers, and I just wanted to kind of document my, hopefully, my major upswing in the future. Hopefully we can book a winning session here. Alright guys, so first hand, a new player who I've played with before, opens to $40 from the low jack, and I know he opens wide pre-flop, so I end up 3-betting to $140 from the hijack with ace-queen offsuit. In hindsight, I think I should have made it bigger to around maybe $160, but he does end up calling, and we go to a flop of 3-5-6 all offsuit. He checks, and we c-bet, around third pot to around $75, and he does end up calling. Turn is a great card for us. It's actually the ace of clubs. He checks, and I actually do something a little bit different here and size down to $150 to try and keep his lower pocket pairs in, like sevens through jacks, and he ends up snap calling. So I feel like he definitely has something to do with the with the flop here, like maybe pocket fours, 4-5, maybe even a slow played set. But we go to a river, and the river is a terrible card for us. It's actually the deuce of clubs, which brings us straight out there. And almost immediately, he puts me all in for over $600. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, when people usually call the flop, call the turn, and then just snap lead the river, they almost always have it. But on the other end, I'm also trying to think of what kind of bluffs he could have. Right, he could have 7-8 suited, 7-9 suited, maybe turning pocket sevens into a bluff. But there's really not a lot of bluffs here, I feel like, and I've never actually seen this player do anything like this or get out of line. So I end up making the crying fold, and he actually tables over queen 7 suited for a bluff. So he actually floated me twice out of position with a gut shot, which I think is pretty bad. If he's going to do something, he should be check racing the flop, since he blocks 7-8 suited that I can continue with, pocket sevens, he blocks pocket queens that I can continue with, and there's really not a lot of good runouts for him to bluff on besides a deuce, a 4, or a 7, and most of the time that's just not going to happen. But hats off to my opponent for outplaying me this hand. I end up reloading, since I know I can exploit him pretty badly for the rest of the session. So let's get on to the second hand. The game has turned into a 5-10-20 game, except the $20 isn't a straddle, it just counts as a blind raise from under the gun at Commerce. So the same guy who bluffed me with queen 7 suited, he isolates 3 limpers on the button to $100. And I immediately see his sizing as a sign of weakness, because I feel like if he had a better hand, he would want to charge way more. And I've seen this sizing tell, throughout this particular game. So I decided to pump it up to $400 with around $900 stacks effective. He makes the call, and at this point I'm hoping to get a low board so I can just pile the rest in on the flop. But the first card comes out, and the flop comes ace of hearts, 8 of diamonds, and the 3 of hearts. And before we can even act, Villain just shoves out a turn for $400. And you can hear him, he says, he can do whatever he wants. I'm all in. So I end up checking just to let him shove it all in. And, I've definitely seen this before in other hands on TV and my own experience where people will purposely go all in out of turn just to try and scare you off an underpair, like tens through jacks or kings. Because if he had an ace, why would he do that? Because I would be drawing very, very slim if I had an underpair. So I end up making the call, putting him in on some sort of draw or spazzing out hand. And we end up running it. All right, so the turn comes a terrible card. It's the King of Diamonds. So now King X of Hearts gets there. And the river comes a offsuit 3. But luckily, my opponent immediately says, "You're good," and shows Queen Jack of Hearts. And we end up holding versus 2 overs and a flush draw. We were about 50-50 on the flop. And we end up winning about a $1,700 pot with pocket tens on ace 8-4. Phew. Next, we pick up Queen Jack of Diamonds from early position, and we raise it up to $100, and the cutoff and big blind both call. Both players are very loose, and we see a flop of Jack of Clubs, 10 of Diamonds, and the 3 of Clubs. Now, it gets checked to us, and we end up betting $200 because we have top pair, we have some backdoor flush draws, backdoor straight draws, a lot of good turns for us to potentially bet the turn as well. And both players call. So now there's almost $1,000 in the middle already. And now it's getting a little bit dicey because the turn comes a offsuit 9. It gets checked to me again, and I'm strongly contemplating just going all in here because we do block King Queen for a straight. Even if someone does have King Jack or Ace Jack, those would most likely fold if we did go all in. And the SPR is a little over 1-1. And we could potentially protect against the club draws plus straight draws. But ultimately, I decide to check and go the lower variance route. And the late position ends up checking as well. So now we go to a river, which comes a offsuit queen. All right, so now there's 4 to a straight out there, which is really not a good board for us. Someone most likely has a straight draw with the flush draw here that they called with on the flop. So we both check it over to the cutoff, and he actually doesn't take very long at all before putting in $900 versus 2 opponents. Now, my live read on this opponent is I did see him bluff before a missed flush draw and straight draw, but at the time he looked pretty nervous. This time he didn't look nervous at all. He looked very confident, and I just didn't think he would try to bluff 2 opponents on a straight board. So I did end up going with my read and ended up making the crying fold because he could easily have King 10 of clubs, King 8 of clubs, and any type of King X of clubs hands that did get there, a lot of combinations. So I decided to make the fold and live another day. Now this next hand is where things get really crazy. This is probably one of the craziest hands I've played because I pick up tens again from early position and I decide to bump it up to $100. And the same villain who bet $900 or who bet $900 with the Queen Jack suited hand earlier calls me from the button. I know he can be pretty light. He's very, very passive and loose pre-flop. But when he does raise with pretty good hands. So it's heads up to a flop, and it comes King 5-4 with the 5 of diamonds. So I bet about a third pot, $65, a little bit less, and he does call. Turn is a deuce of diamonds. At this point, there's really no point for me to bet here. Definitely want to check to try and keep all of his bluffs in and weaker hands in. Potentially get a value on the river if he does check on the turn. So I check, and he ends up betting a large amount of $300. Now, I'm really not feeling good about my hand at this point because this particular opponent, he's kind of tight, but he does get on a line sometimes, and I lose to all kings. I feel like he would do that with the King Queen. I don't think he would do that with King Jack. In the end, I thought he was polarized to pretty much sets, 2 pairs, or straights or air or straight draws, and so I decided to give it a call because I really thought this kind of opponent would bet once if he was bluffing and then give up on the river if I decided to call. So I do end up throwing in the call after some time. And the river comes a sick card. It is a offsuit 10. It's the 10 of hearts. So we actually bank a set on the river here, and I'm loving life because we beat all two pairs, all sets. And I actually do something that's, non-standard here. Usually I would check back to let my opponent bluff, but since I thought he was going to give up most of the time, I thought I may as well just go all in to try and get calls from kings that might check back. Because really nothing changed on this river. I feel like, if I go all in, he's not going to really give me credit for much. Only thing that really gets there is pocket tens. So I do end up eventually going all in for about $900, and I have him covered. And when I do, he snap calls. And immediately I'm not feeling good about my hand. But I do end up tabling over my set of tens. And he shows the ace-3 of diamonds for a wheel with the nut flush draw on the turn. Wow. The entire table's stunned. I'm stunned. We end up losing a massive $2,700 pot there. And now at this point, we're all the way down to $600 after, having a decent run so far. But hey, what can you do? The only thing I can do is try and play my best for the rest of the session. Now this brings me to my next hand only a few minutes later. We look down at the beautiful ace-king of diamonds from the $20 blind raise position. And I'm thinking here, maybe we can bring this back in this hand. And awesome to see the undergun player who's pretty loose from later position, but actually tight from early position, does open it to $85. And obviously we're ahead of most of his range here, even hands he can open for earlier position, like King Queen suited, King 10 suited, Ace Jack, Ace Queen. So I'm super happy about having this in the big blind here. But the loose player who we stacked with tens earlier in the night and calls and only has around $300 to $400 or so. And really, there's only one move here with our stack. There's about $300 in the middle here after everyone calls, and we end up going all in for $600. With Ace King of Diamonds. And the under the gun player doesn't take very long before announcing all in himself. And the cutoff also announces he's just going to gamble and calls off the rest for $400. The under the gun player shows Ace Queen offsuit, so we definitely have him dominated, happy there. We have no idea what the cutoff has, but I'm assuming since he's gambling we have him beat. But the flop comes King 10-10 offsuit. Under the gun is praying for a jack. He's saying jack, 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 and we're praying, please no jack, please no jack. The turn comes a offsuit 7, and the river comes a offsuit 4, and we end up scooping down the entire pot of around $1,600, and we are starting to make a comeback here after almost busting out. Let's go, baby. Let's let this ride. After that ace-king hand, we end up pretty much winning every hand we played for a couple of hours, but took most of them down without showdown. So we actually got our $1,600 stack to around $2,000. And then we come to the last hand of the night, and we look down at a very pretty king-queen of clubs. So we open to $85 this time, and middle position re-race is pretty small to a little over $230. Now I have some very specific tells on this opponent with sizing and timing tells, and he has some major sizing tells here. When he makes it big, he has a big hand. When he makes it smaller, he has a not so good hand. So I really want to keep him in the pot here. I do have a really good hand. I don't want to 4-bet and make him fold, or else I might be losing value here. So I do end up just calling, and we go to a very good flop of Queen of Hearts, 5 of Hearts, and the 5 of Spades. We check, and he bets around half pot, $230, and we make the call. Turn is a Jack of Diamonds, which is a great card for us as well. We check, and he checks. Now I'm very confident at this point that we have the best hand, and if the river comes a brick, we can definitely get some value from our opponent. Plus, we have a pretty aggressive image at this point. I'm pretty confident we can get paid off. We've actually been, kind of bossing him around a little bit, and he had to change seats from my right to my left, so I was 3-betting him so much. But the river comes a offsuit 2, And now it is time to go to Value Town because the 2 of clubs changes nothing. But I don't want to go too big because he does have the tendency to fold a lot post flop. So I bet half pot's around $325. And great news, he doesn't take long before calling. We table our king queen top pair and he throws his hand into the muck. So we end up winning another $1,500 pot to end the night. We're now up over $1,675 after almost busting. So I'm pretty happy now, and I feel like it's time to end the session on a good note. Plus I've been playing about 6 hours straight. I'm feeling a little bit sick. I really just want to book a win here. What's up, guys? So I just finished my session after 6 hours of play. It was a swingy one because I started off down about 500 and then up 500 and then down 900. And then I ended up winning about $1,675 for the night. I would play longer. I'm just like feel kind of groggy and sick right now. So I'm definitely not going to play like too many hours and push myself. I think 6 hours is just good enough and booking a win. So I'll definitely be back tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think overall I played really well. I misplayed maybe a couple of hands, but that's fine. You know, it takes time to gather reads for my opponents. So I just started playing these commerce games and I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone and be able to exploit my opponents like that. All right, see you guys next time.